Hello everyone and welcome to the 15th of May, and as you can see we've got a rain weather turn still at 100% command and control, 29 of 70 victory points, and gem losses are up to 5%, which is a bit rough. French however on 10, and the Belgian and Dutch are significantly worse, still 18th, so I think that's 33 turns left. Right, let's have a look at the full replay. Let's go. This is 18th Army advancing in the forest. There are French troops there to slow us down, but at this point we don't see an enormous amount of them. More and more are showing up all the time though. And over here we do some work on breaking across this river line which is the Cheers. Not really sure about the pronunciation there. Yeah, we hammer them with everything we got, and this is also quite nice. We put hurt on the French artillery and then break across the river, but it's a tough fight. Yeah, we at least I think have degraded their mobile troops there. And the rest of the infantry are solidly in contact with the French line, which is good. Yeah, 18th hasn't really got the mass of troops to just completely overwhelm this amount of defenders, but we are tying up a good amount of French, which is nice. And there's a few more infantry just slowly slogging it through the forest. Their armoured car cavalry units are nowhere to be seen. I think they got the idea that getting surrounded and destroyed in the forest wasn't the greatest thing they could be doing. Right, on to 6th Army. 6th Army is advancing up, but as you can see, there's quite a significant amount of French armoured units. We do what we can, basically, but as you'll see in the turn, despite artillery and airstrikes absolutely hammering a couple of key hexes, the French do not budge. These units are tough. As you can see, there's quite heavy artillery attacks on these two. I was trying to cut this pair of regiments off and eliminate them. Despite pushing back that lot, we fail on the rest of the attacks, which is quite surprising because we outnumbered them and they were in absolute shreds from the amount of pounding they'd received from the artillery and aircraft. So I was quite pissed off about that. And then again, same thing here. We do at least inflict some H-35, which is I think a medium tank. We inflict some H-35 losses, but overall that very disappointing, that section there. But better here where we destroy a Belgian regiment. And then our infantry moves up to basically take the place of the armor on the line, so the armor can go off and do other things. Artillery. Yeah, unfortunately, not the decisive counter blow that I had hoped. But our troops are a bit ragged, so there is only so much we can do. More infantry, and yeah, the 6th Army's infantry is really getting into play now, so I expect that the French will be forced to withdraw. We also send a regiment up to threaten Waterloo and force these Belgian units to fall back. Last few bits and pieces of 6th Army come up, and now we're on to 4th. 4th moves quite slowly through the forest. Unfortunately, they should have really gone north and across the bridge and along the open terrain, but yeah, there's nothing you can do about that now. They're not facing any significant resistance, so they kind of need to get down to Antwerp as fast as possible. Our whole defense, oh, that's hurt. Our whole defense was offense was more northerly oriented than I had imagined. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. We probably could have coordinated that slightly better, but partly it's my fault from how I deployed and just the sheer amount of troops we're trying to squeeze onto the front line. I think this is Hannibal, so he's doing what he can to catch everyone up. And off we go with BB Joey's turn now with 12th Army. Wow, that is some serious hurt on them. I'm quite pleased with that. A bit more disappointing there. Handing BB Joey his own air force is clearly paying off. Yeah, this is a Belgian fort line, so we do need to break it down rather than just assault it without proper preparation. The surrounding of the Belgian forces here continues. 12th Army is all infantry, so yeah, not a lot they can do in terms of encirclements. They're not the greatest at it. Still, we are progressing all right. It would be nice if the French had given us such a bloody nose, but what can you do? That's good. Some tank units get battered back. That's a decent amount of casualties. Now we're getting quite fragile. These guys especially getting pushed back twice in one turn. Unfortunate, but we're not a disaster, that attack. That's good. I didn't think they'll be able to push into the outskirts of the city so easily. Yeah, it looks like he's trying to force them back here and maybe hook around the side of Antwerp. If they can force the Belgians to withdraw from the fort line, that's a real plus. But yeah, that would be quite tricky, unfortunately. And hopefully sending a few more troops southwards to assist me. Okay, on to 16th Army, and their battle with the Dutch continues. The Dutch have flooded the polders and cut themselves off from retreat. So I guess that is motivational, but perhaps not the smartest choice they could have made. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they manage to fall back with, and if there's a significant resistance. But the Dutch have already lost something like a quarter of their army. So it's going to be quite a mess. And this looks like the British. We've seen a lot of movement in the fog of war. No, sorry, the French. And looks like a full-on withdrawal in the south here, presumably to this river line here, which is just yet another problem for me to face. The terrain here is not kind to the attacker, unfortunately. Some light casualties from artillery fire. And quite a lot of French pour onto my 2 regiments there, but they give a good accounting of themselves, which is nice. Looks like they're in full retreat here. Yeah, they don't want to face the infantry of 6th Army at this point without a river line to hide behind. Can't say I really blame them. The Belgians are falling back, and so are the ways. They must have shuffled some units around. It looks like the French player is using the Belgian mobile units as well, which is interesting. I hadn't noticed that yet. More of the same. I expect this will be quite a bloody bit with all the artillery. The French presumably have massed there. And yeah, it looks like the BEF is diverting north to stop BB Joey's strike with Panzer Group Kleist. Yeah, no surprise there. More and more units flooding up. There's a British HQ unit. The Belgians, it looks like, are heading north now. That's interesting. I was expecting them to. They may be. Oh no, it looks like they're bringing up some units from somewhere. But yeah, there's obviously quite a flood of units towards Brussels. Yeah, artillery inflicts a few casualties. That's interesting. They put some serious effort into that attack and didn't achieve very much, but we could probably use some air support over there. And again, looks like what exactly happened there. Yeah, our fighters came in and absolutely trounced the British attackers. The Belgians are failing in attack. Not surprising, the Belgians are not really capable of any serious offensive work. Although, my god, there is a lot of them. Compared to that sheer mass of units, so we're starting to look a bit shaky, but no surprise they run for the inundation. It'll take them like 2 turns at least to just across that section because it's very slow moving. They may not have thought that through very well. Right, so that's the current situation. We've lost contact up north and the south. Similar things are happening. I do wonder what we'll be able to do with these guys. They can't cross the river here because there's no bridge. So if you do cross it, you start to run out of the supplies very quickly. And yeah, there's just a solid wall of British units who are somewhat overstacked. So hopefully we can put some hurt on them there. Down in the south, the enemy has disappeared into the fog of war. I'm going to have to send out scouts, planes, but I expect they've fallen back to this river line along here with a garrison at Namur. Down south, there's some pretty serious resistance, but these guys are a bit. I don't know, they were smart enough to have one unit not attack and the other attack, so they've got solid defenders there. Not sure we'll be able to breach through this line anytime soon. Finally, they've abandoned the city here and fallen back across the river. Yeah, that's quite a battered unit. I wonder if we could force it. Same here, they've fallen back a little bit, presumably to make a line in the forest. We're going to have to see what we can manage to do about that. The rain is going to interfere a bit with our ability to crush French units in the open. So yeah, let's get into it and see what happens. Okay, we're now at the end of my turn. As you can see, we've pressed forward a bit as cautiously as I can and done some air recon. So there's a fairly significant French presence here. They're falling back across the bridges. Charleroi is being garrisoned, and there's British all the way down to here, which is a bit of a surprise. I thought they'd be leaving that to French infantry. Hopefully BB Joe can hit this city next turn because it's massively overstacked and there's 2 French air units in there, so if we can munch them up nicely, that would be quite good. Again, it's a rain turn, so air hasn't been that effective. We did isolate and eliminate a remnants of a mobile regiment here, but yeah, elsewhere not a lot to report. Similar stuff up here. We blasted a French reserve regiment into nothing, which was good. So over here we're also preparing to break through and head to Montferm. 18th Army is otherwise pretty much just pressed up on the line and done their best. We've also extended the line a bit down here. There's a fresh reserve whole corps of French, whole corps of French units here. So I expect they'll take up position along the river line, and these guys will retreat. Other than that, not a lot to report really. That's really relatively quiet turn. Look at the whole map. As you can see, we are making progress. Another 33 turns to go. So hopefully we'll be able to do something clever around Antwerp or Brussels and force some Belgian surrender. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a shit show. Oh, this is a very tempting target for airplanes, despite it being quite a difficult target. We shall see. We shall see. I think Baby Joey will probably get up to this river line this turn, and then we will have to assess and see how much combat power the Brits actually have. Problem with British is they have a lot of mobile infantry, all these Albion trucks, so they're very fast to respond to any changes in the line. Further afield, these sort of 3 hex sides that are exposed on the river line and the 4 hexes here are the best places to break over it. So it's one potential thing we can do is we were discussing breaking through here and 6 army busts through here, and then they loop up and try and encircle a batch of French units. Alternatively, other real choices to try and drive for the coast, which would force these guys to fall back or risk getting surrounded. So I'm not entirely sure what they would do at that point, but it's far from certain we'd be able to maintain this sort of thrust. I think we've oriented too far north here for a lot of troops. Right, overall, no disasters this turn. The French were largely falling back. So ideally we'll be able to get a little bit of a breakthrough here with the infantry. And if we do that, it's going to threaten this line, so it's a bit iffy. But hopefully we'll get some movement in the next few turns. I'm slightly disappointed the French didn't stand and fight, but yeah, as the game goes on, their command and control gets better, so they actually get more organized and fight better. So it's in their interest to delay and not to fight the Germans extremely early on. Right, that's it from me. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and don't forget to click the subscribe button and look at the other games I have running at the moment. Thanks a lot, everyone.